Hello. Our TBR jar is going to prompt us into some book recommendations. So we are going to draw probably like 10 prompts because that is what I typically read in a month, or what I typically pull. I pull about 10 books in a month. So we are going to pull about 10 prompts, and I'm going to see if I can find a book that I could recommend to you based on these prompts. So let's do it. Okay, prompt number 1. Let's see if I can recommend a book with a first person point of view. First person point of view. Let me go looking. For this prompt, we have There Are No Saints. This is a first person point of view from our main female character. Her name is Mara, and she is an she's a art curator, I believe, or the assistant to an art curator, and she's an aspiring sculptor as well, or an aspiring artist. Anyhow, she meets San Francisco. San Francisco's most wealthy and hottest sculptor, and he has a super dark secret that she soon finds out and becomes entangled in. This was a 3-star, I believe it was a 3-star read for me. It was very good. The sequel, There Are No Devils, I believe. There Is No Devil is on my shelf, and I am waiting to read it because it just hasn't come up in a prompt for me. But this is a great book in a first person point of view. Our second prompt recommendation, this one, dropped it. Oh, excellent. A book that has been adapted. This one, I have a few of them, but I know one right off the top of my head. This is one case where I believe that the movie adaptation is so much better than the book. The Princess Bride. If you have watched, if you've watched my channel or many of my videos, this has come up a couple of times in my channel. And while I wanted to love this book, I just didn't. I have it because it was a birthday / Mother's Day gift from my husband, and I will never get rid of this because it is beautiful and I love it. But the movie adaptation is by far better than the book. And if you are at all interested in The Princess Bride, watch the movie. That's all I have to say. The third book recommendation is, easy, Super Chunky, or a book over 700 pages. There's only one book for me that comes to mind. This will come as no surprise to anybody who has seen my most recent videos, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a 1,200 page book, or this edition is 1,200 pages. I could almost guarantee you that any version of this book, any production of it, is going to be over 700 pages because it's just a brick. It's giant. This was one of the best books I've read this year. It is phenomenal. It has an incredibly complicated cast of, well, I shouldn't say incredibly complicated. It has a fairly complicated cast of characters, but the storyline and the plot and the way that these characters' points of views flow together is so beautifully done, and it is just a phenomenal read. This was a 5-star read for me. If there was a 6, 7, 8-star option, I would have given this that. It is wonderful. Our fourth prompt I am putting them back in there. So if I draw the same one again. Oh, and funny, under 300 pages. So over 700, under 300. Let me go look, see what I have. So I found a couple of options for this one, but ultimately what I settled on was Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This comes in at, I think, 286 pages, 285 pages. This was so cute. So this is the second in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. The first is Done and Dusted. There is a third one on the way, which I cannot wait for. But this book in particular, I absolutely loved Ada and Wes. They together are so sweet. Wes is a gentle but yet still manly and masculine main character. He is a little bit complicated, but ultimately him as a male main character in this story just did it for me. And I really loved Done and Dusted. This, I believe, I also gave 5 stars to. It was so good. It is one of the best modern Western romances I've read in a really long time. Pretty much neck and neck with the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. This was a phenomenal book, and coming in at under 300 pages, excellent quick read. So Swift and Saddled is my recommendation for this prompt. On to our 5th recommendation. I'm actually really surprised that I have had a book for every one of these so far. I must read a lot. Oh, okay. A book with bones on the cover. I need to look at this. I need to look for this one because I know I have some. Okay. I don't know why this didn't come to mind right off the bat, but Bonesmith by Nikki Pau-Preto. This is a phenomenal fantasy about a bonesmith. Her job is to basically sever the tie that a soul has with its bones so that they can be put to rest. This follows our main character, Ren, who is caught up in a plot, completely unsuspecting, against her, out of her control. And then she goes on a bit of a quest to try to right this wrong that was done to her. So the second book that has been put out is on my autumn TBR. And so I'm hoping to get to it October, November, hopefully, but it's Ghostsmith. And so this, I can't remember if I gave this a 4 or 5 star. I'll pop it up on the screen if I remember to, but this was a phenomenal read. I absolutely loved this. I thought it was so interesting. The magic system, the setting, the plot, everything just worked together so good, and you find yourself just absolutely rooting for this main character and for the supporting characters. So Bonesmith by Nikki Pau-Preto is my recommendation for bones on the cover. Next one, I think this is our 6th. I've just been throwing them back in, so I'm not counting. Name in the title. This might take me a minute. Name in the title. I have chosen Eragon. By Christopher Paolini. It follows our main character, Eragon, who is a young boy. He happens to find what he thinks is a stone, but in fact is a dragon egg. And when the dragon egg hatches, his entire world, just completely explodes, implodes, and a whole like crazy host of nonsense and shenanigans and just wildness ensues on the hunt for this dragon that has become Eragon's. So this is also a phenomenal book. It is a YA, or it could even be middle grade. It's fairly chunky, but this is a phenomenal coming of age story. There's an incredible magic system. There's an incredible political world that we kind of get to follow. There is joy and heartbreak and just all of these phenomenal things happening in this book, and I cannot recommend it enough. I have only read book 1 so far in this series, and I believe there's 4. There's 4 in this original series, and then there is 1 in a spin-off series that follows one of the characters that we meet in Eragon. So this would be my recommendation for a book with a name in the title. Pulling our 7th prompt for a recommendation. Oh, this one I might not be able to do. It's a book released this month. I can't do that one because I haven't read any new releases yet. I don't think. Okay, we're gonna pull that one again. It was just bad luck. 400 to 499 pages. This is a very specific prompt. It might take me a minute to find one that I've read. I know they're out there. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're out there. I'll just have to find one. Okay, let me tell you what. That was a very specific prompt, and I have read so many books that are like 385 pages, 527 pages, 632, 284. Okay, but I did find one that I would highly recommend to anyone in the fantasy romance world, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen. I think it's Ciccarelli maybe? Anyway, this is also known as the Crimson Moth series, and this is about a witch and a witch hunter who they end up working together. They don't know that one is a witch and one is a witch hunter, and they end up working together to hunt down the Crimson Moth, who happens to be kind of a bit of a superhero in this series, or in this book, is how I would describe this person. So this was phenomenal. I loved this. I loved both of the main characters in this. They had amazing character arcs. The main male character, again, so compelling. He's very complicated. He's got some crazy, like a crazy life story, and he's absolutely like phenomenally written. I absolutely love this male main character. The female main character in this, Rune is her name and Gideon is his name. I couldn't remember for the life of me, but Rune she is complicated and wonderful. It's so hard to describe. They're both very complex, but not confusing characters. And the way this story is written is phenomenal. I cannot wait for the second one to come out. I think this was either high 4 or a 5-star read for me. So a way above average read for me, and wonderful. So if you are looking for a book that is in between 400 and 499 pages, Heartless Hunter is a phenomenal choice. And just to prove it to you, this book is, oh gosh, we're at 404 pages. So, within the prompt, for sure. Moving on to our 8th prompt for a recommendation. Here we go. A sci-fi. 2 responses to this prompt. One is basically the entire Expeditionary Force series. I am currently in the 15th book. I will put some images here of that series. It is a phenomenal sci-fi series. I recommend listening to them. They are so engaging to listen to. I've also read them on my Kindle. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. And so I've also read them. But this is a series that follows our main male character, Joe Bishop, who goes from being kind of a grunt in the US Army to a high-ranking official in a United Nations Expeditionary Force space force. So there's some hilarious things that happen. There's some heavy things that happen. You go kind of ride a roller coaster in every book, but it is so good. So good. Craig Allinson is brilliant. It does get a little repetitive in the middle of the series, but it is a new plot in every book. It's a new plot. So if you like kind of dorky main male characters with hilarious AI sidekicks and a whole host of aliens, this is the book series for you. Check it out, please. It is so good. And if you listen to it, or even if you're going to read it, give it till book 2. Book 1 is engaging and good, but it sets up an entire foundation for nearly 18 books. So you definitely want to get through book 1 before you're making any kind of decisions at all about whether or not to continue. So that being said, the second one is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I absolutely was so taken aback by this book. I did not know what to think about it because I just kind of went in blind. It is not a typical Brandon Sanderson, I think, because it is sci-fi, or has sci-fi elements, but I love this. This was the very first Brandon Sanderson book I ever read, and this is phenomenal. I can't remember if I gave this 4 or 5 stars. Apparently I can't remember what I star rate many of my books, but this was very, very good. This book follows Spensa, who is, it's always been her dream to follow in her father's footsteps in becoming a fighter pilot in their military force. She does not understand fully some things that had happened and why her father was branded a traitor, but she ends up fighting her way through this academy and some things happen. So this is phenomenal. I absolutely love this series. I can't wait to I love this book. I can't wait to continue on in this series. So this would be my recommendation also for a sci-fi. On to prompt 9. Ha! Okay, this is a book with a military theme. Both of those totally could have worked, but let me think of another one, because I'm sure that I know I have more. So glad that I found this book. This is also a 5-star read for me, and it is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. So if you don't know about this book, I'm assuming everybody in the doggone booktube knows about this book. But if you are the one person who doesn't know about this book, this follows our main characters, Iris and Roman. And they are war correspondents in this book. They're kind of rival war correspondents. And her brother gets, he ends up joining this army in support of one of the gods. So in this world, there is a war raging between two gods. And he joins the army for the female god. And in an effort to keep up with what's going on with him, she hasn't heard from her brother. Iris hasn't heard from her brother for a really long time. She ends up joining the war correspondents, and her rival Roman does as well. So there is an element of romance, there's an element of military and fighting, intrigue, war. This has a very like World War II feel because it centers around this war that's happening, and there's like interesting technology and advancements in technology, but they type on typewriters. So there's no like computers, but there's like kind of like this feeling of advanced technology within. It's a very interesting feeling world, and there's like this tension between modern and old. So Iris and Roman both have these typewriters that they use that kind of the story centers around. So I don't want to give too much away, but this was a 5-star read for me, as well as the second book in this duology, which was Ruthless Vows. So if you've not heard of this, this is a fantastic fantasy romance duology. These are true rivals to lovers, maybe? I don't know. You'll have to read it and see. But this is a fantastic, fantastic book. And if you are looking for a book with a hint of military, it's more than a hint. It is a major theme in this book, but it is not, it's not just centered around the war and the war effort. That is kind of in the background. So if you're looking for something like that, this is a phenomenal choice. And our final prompt for this video. Oh geez. Okay, we'll just pull the one off the top then. Dragons. Okay. I could be super obvious and go for the obvious. I have two for this. One, okay, technically I have three for this, but I'm only going to mention one. I'll talk a little bit about the second one and then the second and third one. So the first one is obviously the Eragon series. It's all about dragons. The second one is, okay, this is Iron Flame, but it's the Fourth Wing series, the Imperium series. I currently only have Iron Flame on hand because I loaned Fourth Wing out to my sister, and now I don't know if I'll ever get it back. But Iron Flame, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame are about a dragon academy where you basically you go and get bonded to a dragon or you die. Is basically how it works. So I personally, this is kind of a polarizing series. I love this series. Fourth Wing was a 5-star read for me. Iron Flame was 4-star read because there were some choices in this book that I was like, why did we do that? I still think this is a phenomenal extension of the Fourth Wing story, and a lot more world building in Iron Flame than we saw in Fourth Wing, and a lot more political, like intrigue, political world building, things like that. So, absolutely phenomenal book series. Rebecca Yarros, she just, I don't know how she keeps everything straight, to be fully honest with you. I got to the end of this book and I was like, well, shoot, now I have to wait for, it was almost a whole year before Onyx Storm comes out, but that comes out in just a few short months in January, end of January 2025. So this is a total recommendation, the Imperium series, which is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame right now. This next book, or this next series that I'm going to talk about, the dragon element is a very, very in the background. It is a very small part of this series, but it is a part of the series. So that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. There are 3 books, so this trilogy. Dragons are just kind of in this world, and Stephanie Garber did dragons a little differently in this. So instead of in like Iron Flame and Aragon, dragons being this huge, creature that humans are dwarfed by and are super intimidated by and can ride, the dragons in this world are just like tiny and adorable, and they are almost like a little fluffy. They're described as just these super sweet and cute creatures. So I really loved that about this series. It was super endearing to me, because if I was gonna have a dragon, I would want it to be this tiny little adorable creature that doesn't get very big. So I thought that was really well done in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. This is following Evangeline Fox, who is kind of this peasant, I guess, in her world, and she ends up making a wish, or making a deal with the Prince of Hearts, who is a fate, and that absolutely just changes the course of her life forever. So we get 3 books in this series. It is very, very good. Books 2 and 3 I liked a little bit less than book 1. Still a phenomenal series. This was a 4-star series for me. So very, very good. Highly recommend it. It's, I believe, considered fantasy romance, maybe. Slow burn, low spice, very, very easy to read, and highly recommended. So this is also a recommendation for dragons. That is it. That's all we're going to do today for book recommendations prompted by the TBR jar. I hope that this gave you some neat ideas based on some books that I have read and really enjoyed. Some of these are very much talked about and hyped books. Some of them are not. Some of them I just have read and really enjoyed. So with that, I'm going to leave you for today, but I hope you have the best day. I hope that you enjoy these recommendations. If you've read any of these books, or want to read any of these books, or have further questions about any of these books, or you have a recommendation for me based on these prompts, let me know down below. I would love to hear from you. Have the best day, and I'll see you on the next one.